The galaxy was quiet, too quiet for Lyra's liking. She stood on the cracked surface of a long-dead planet, her 3 eyes scanning the horizon. The Varn, her people, had ruled the stars for centuries, their sleek ships and glowing cities a testament to their power. But this place, a dusty ruin called Kethra, felt different. It whispered secrets in the wind, secrets the Varn had ignored until now. Lyra adjusted her scanner, its hum cutting through the silence. She was a scientist, not a warrior, driven by a need to understand the unknown. That's why she'd come here, chasing rumors of an artifact buried beneath the rubble. Her team dug for days, their metal claws scraping against stone. Then they found it, a glowing orb, no bigger than a Varn's head, pulsing with faint emerald light. Lyra's heart raced as she brushed the dirt away. Symbols covered its surface, sharp and strange, unlike any language in the Varn archives. She called for Kale, her assistant, who bounded over, his silver scales glinting in the dim sun. "What is it?" he asked, voice buzzing with excitement. Lyra didn't answer right away. She ran the scanner over the orb, and a translation flickered to life: "Fear the humans." Humans. Lyra tilted her head, puzzled. The Varn had catalogued thousands of species, and humans were barely a footnote, a primitive race from a blue planet called Earth, still fumbling with basic machines. How could they inspire fear in a civilization that left this behind? Kale scratched his snout. Maybe it's a mistake. Humans can't even leave their system. Lyra shook her head. This orb is older than our oldest records. Whatever made it knew something we don't. She ordered the team to pack it up. They'd take it to the Varn capital for study. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Tom wiped sweat from his brow. He stood in a cluttered workshop on Earth, surrounded by wires and steel. A stocky man with rough hands, he'd spent years dreaming of the stars. Now, he was close. The ship in front of him wasn't much to look at, cobbled together from spare parts and hope, but it was his. "Ready for a test run?" asked Mina, his co-engineer, her dark hair tied back as she tightened a bolt. Tom grinned. "Let's see if this thing flies or explodes." They climbed aboard, a crew of 5, and flipped switches. The engines groaned, then roared. The ship jolted upward, shaking as it broke through Earth's atmosphere. For a moment, they cheered, until a loud snap echoed through the hull. "Fuel lines busted," shouted Eli, the mechanic, his voice sharp with panic. The ship spiraled, alarms blaring. Tom didn't hesitate. "Grab the tape and that old pipe," he yelled. Mina raised an eyebrow but obeyed, handing him the supplies. With Eli's help, Tom patched the line, twisting the pipe into place while the ship shuddered. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. The engine steadied, and they leveled out, staring at the stars through a cracked viewport. Back on the Varn capital, a gleaming city of spires, Lyra presented the orb to the council. The elders, tall and stern, leaned forward in their thrones. "Humans," one growled, his voice like grinding stone. "They're nothing. Why waste time on this?" Lyra stood firm. "Every dead world we've found has a warning like this. 17 so far, all saying the same thing. We can't ignore it." The council grumbled, but curiosity won out. They approved her plan: observe Earth, learn what made humans dangerous. Lyra's ship slipped into Earth's orbit days later, cloaked in shadow. She watched Tom's crew land their rickety ship, laughing as they climbed out. Kale frowned at the screen. "They almost died, and they're happy." Lyra nodded slowly. "They fixed it with junk. No Varn would have tried that." She zoomed in, fascinated. The humans didn't follow rules, they made their own. Back at the council chambers, the elders debated. "They're weak," one said. "No threat." But another, older and quieter, murmured, "Weak things don't survive like that." Tom's team didn't know they were being watched. That night, he sat outside, staring at the sky. "There's something out there," he told Mina. "I can feel it." She laughed. "You and your hunches." But Tom wasn't joking. He'd always felt the pull of the unknown, a spark that drove him to build, to explore. On the Varn ship, Lyra felt a similar spark. She turned to Kale. "We need to know more. This isn't just about fear, it's about what they can do." The orb pulsed in its case, as if it knew what was coming. Across the galaxy, other ruins held the same warning, etched in stone and crystal. The Varn had power, but humans had something else, something that made the universe tremble long ago. Lyra's journey was just beginning, and Tom's was about to take a turn he'd never expect. The stars watched in silence, waiting for the next move. Lyra's ship hovered silently above Earth, its cloaking field shimmering like a veil. Inside, the Varn crew watched the humans below with a mix of awe and unease. Lyra stood at the command deck, her 3 eyes fixed on the screen. Tom's rickety starship had landed safely after its chaotic test flight, and now his crew was tinkering with it again, laughing as they hammered dents out of the hull. "They treat it like a game," Kale said, his silver scales bristling. Lyra nodded. "A game they keep winning." The orb's warning echoed in her mind, "Fear the humans." She wasn't sure she feared them yet, but she couldn't look away. Days passed, and Tom's team pushed their ship further. They launched again, this time aiming for the edge of their solar system. Lyra tracked their path, her curiosity growing. The humans didn't have the sleek engines or flawless designs of Varn technology, but they had grit. Then it happened, the ship's engines flared, propelling it faster than Lyra's scanners could predict. "They've crossed into our space," Kale gasped, checking the readings. The humans didn't know it, but they'd stumbled into a restricted Varn patrol zone. On the ship, Tom gripped the controls, grinning as stars streaked past. "Told you we'd make it," he shouted to Mina, who clung to her seat, half laughing, half terrified. Eli adjusted a gauge, muttering, "This shouldn't even work." But it did. Until a shadow loomed ahead, a Varn scout vessel decloaking in their path. The human crew froze as a voice crackled over their comms, calm but firm. "Unknown craft, identify yourselves." Tom blinked, then leaned into the mic, "Hi. I'm Tom. We're from Earth. Didn't mean to trespass, just testing our ride." Lyra, aboard the scout ship, hesitated. The council had ordered observation only, but this was too close. She signaled her crew to stand down and replied, "I am Lyra of the Varn. You've entered our territory." Tom's voice came back, cheerful despite the tension. "Nice to meet you, Lyra. Got any tips for a smooth ride home?" Kale stared at her, baffled. "He's friendly." Lyra's lips twitched, a rare Varn smile. "Let's find out what they're made of." She invited Tom's crew aboard the scout ship, a sleek vessel of curves and light. The humans climbed out of their clunky ship, wide-eyed but unafraid. Tom shook Lyra's clawed hand, ignoring its sharpness. Mina gawked at the glowing walls, while Eli muttered about reverse engineering everything he saw. Lyra offered a tour, testing them. She showed them a broken Varn tool, a puzzle no one had fixed. Tom grabbed it, fiddled with it, and handed it back, working again. "Just needed a tweak," he said with a shrug. Lyra's heart skipped. These humans didn't think like Varn, they acted. Back on the Capitol, the council watched the feed, their voices rising. "They're reckless," one elder snapped. "Dangerous," another agreed. But the quiet elder from before murmured, "Or brilliant." Lyra proposed a trade, knowledge for knowledge. Tom jumped at it, offering ideas for fuel mixes the Varn had never considered. Then disaster struck. A power surge hit the scout ship, tearing a hole in the hull. Varn crew scrambled, but the humans moved faster. Tom yelled, "Tape and plates, now." They patched the breach with scrap metal and a roll of sticky gray stuff, holding it until repairs kicked in. Lyra stared, stunned. Cale whispered, "That shouldn't have worked." Tom wiped his hands, grinning. "Gets us through every time." The Varn crew murmured among themselves, some wary, some amazed. Lyra saw potential, an alliance could change everything. But the council saw threat. They summoned Lyra back, demanding answers. She left Tom's crew with a promise to return, her mind racing. These humans weren't just surviving, they were thriving in ways the Varn couldn't predict. On Earth, Tom sat with his team, replaying the encounter. "They're out there," he said, eyes bright. "And they're watching us." Mina frowned. "Think they're friendly?" Eli snorted. "Friendly or not, we held our own." Tom nodded, determination settling in. "Next time, we'll be ready." They didn't know it, but their patched-up ship had already tripped a Varn alarm, a test trap meant to disable intruders. It failed. The humans had rewired it mid-flight, laughing as they did. The council chamber buzzed with tension as Lyra reported. "They're not a threat, they're an opportunity," she argued. The elders scowled. "Every dead race feared them," one said. "We should destroy them now." But the quiet elder raised a hand. "Or learn why they survived." A vote loomed, contain or connect. Lyra's words swayed some, but fear gripped others. They sent a probe to Earth, armed to strike if needed. Cale watched it launch, uneasy. "What if we're wrong?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer. She remembered Tom's grin, the way he'd turned chaos into victory. Tom's crew didn't see the probe, but they felt the shift. Strange signals pinged their ship's outdated sensors. "Something's coming," Mina said, her voice low. Tom stood, staring at the sky. "Then we'll meet it." The Varn thought they held the power, but humans had a knack for flipping the game. Lyra knew it, even if the council didn't. The orb's warning glowed in her lab, its light sharper now, as if sensing the clash ahead. Across the galaxy, other artifacts hummed in unison, their message unchanged: fear the humans. But fear was only half the story. The Varn council chamber thrummed with unease. The elders sat in their towering thrones, their scales glinting under the artificial light. Lyra stood before them, her report on the humans still echoing in the air. The probe they'd sent to Earth was armed, cloaked, and ready to strike if ordered. "They're unpredictable," one elder hissed, claws tapping impatiently. "We must act before they spread." The quiet elder, his voice soft but firm, countered, "Or we risk losing what they could teach us." Lyra's three eyes flickered between them. She'd seen Tom's crew up close, their patched ship, their fearless grins. She believed in them, but the council's fear was winning. In orbit above Earth, the probe hummed, its sensors tracking Tom's workshop. Inside, the human crew huddled around a table littered with tools and coffee cups. Mina tapped a screen, frowning. "These signals, they're not random. Something's out there." Tom leaned back, rubbing his chin. "Lyra's people." Eli snorted, tinkering with a circuit. "Friendly or not, they're poking us. Let's poke back." The team agreed, whatever was watching, they'd face it. They fired up their ship, engines groaning as they lifted off, chasing the faint signal into the void. Lyra's ship lingered near the Varn capital, her crew restless. Cale paced, his silver scales catching the light. "The council's wrong," he muttered. "Striking first, it's not our way." Lyra nodded, her mind racing. She'd left Tom with hope of alliance, but now war loomed. She hacked into the probe's feed, watching Tom's ship climb higher. Her heart sank, they were heading straight for it. She made a choice. Against orders, she opened a channel. "Tom, this is Lyra. Turn back, there's danger." Static crackled, then his voice came through, steady. "Danger's our specialty. What's coming? She warned him of the probe, its weapons primed. Tom didn't flinch. Thanks for the heads up. We'll handle it. The line cut, and Lyra stared at the screen, torn between duty and trust. On the ship, Tom rallied his crew. Rig the engines, full burst. We'll outrun it. Mina hesitated. That could blow us up. He grinned. Or save us. Roll the dice. They did. The ship shuddered, streaking toward the probe at impossible speed. The Varn device fired, a pulse meant to cripple, but the humans veered, dodging with a move no Varn pilot would dare. The council watched, stunned. They evaded it, an elder growled. How? The quiet elder smiled faintly. Because they don't think like us. Fear spread, and the vote swung, send a fleet. Contain the humans before they grew bolder. Lyra's pleas fell flat. We're starting a fight we don't understand, she shouted. They ignored her, branding her a traitor. Kale pulled her aside as guards approached. We need to go, now. They slipped away, stealing a scout ship, racing to warn Tom. On Earth, word spread fast. Tom's crew landed, breathless, sharing their tale. Leaders gathered, scientists, builders, dreamers. Aliens want to fight? One asked. Tom shook his head. Some do. Lyra didn't. They didn't wait for proof. Workshops roared to life, churning out ships, crude, chaotic, but many. Humanity's spark ignited, curiosity and defiance blending into action. They launched a dozen vessels, patched together but fierce, joining Tom in orbit. Let's show them who we are, he said, voice steady. The Varn fleet arrived, 10 towering ships, gleaming with power. Tom's ragtag flotilla faced them, dwarfed but unflinching. Lyra's scout ship darted between, broadcasting to both sides. Stop this. We can learn from each other. The Varn commander sneered, firing a warning shot. It grazed Tom's ship, sparking chaos. Shields up, he yelled, though they had none. Instead, Eli rewired the hull, deflecting the next blast with a jury-rigged field. Mina laughed, wild. That's insane. Tom winked. That's us. The battle erupted. Varn's ship struck with precision, but the humans danced, dodging, weaving, striking back with makeshift weapons. One human ship rammed a Varn cruiser, cracking its core. Another lobbed debris, clogging enemy sensors. The Varn faltered, unused to such madness. Lyra's voice cut through the fray. Stand down. They're not the enemy. Some listened, pulling back. Others pressed on, pride blinding them. Tom's ship took a hit, spinning. He grabbed the controls, steadying it. We're not done, he growled, launching a flare that blinded the Varn flagship. Both sides paused, battered and breathless. The Varn commander hailed Tom. What are you? Tom grinned through the static. Humans. Nice to meet you. Lyra seized the moment, pleading with her people. They fight because we pushed them. Look at what they've done with nothing. The quiet elder's voice joined hers, calm but piercing. End this. Talk. The fleet hesitated, then lowered weapons. Tom's crew cheered, bruised but alive. On Earth, more ships rose, a wave of human will. The galaxy watched, stunned. Lyra docked with Tom's ship, stepping aboard. You're impossible, she said, half laughing. He shrugged. We get that a lot. The orb's warning lingered in her mind, but now she saw it differently, not just fear, but awe. The ceasefire held, fragile but real. Both sides had underestimated each other, and the truth behind the ancient words loomed closer. The stars seemed brighter, alive with questions only time could answer. The ceasefire hung like a thin thread over Earth's orbit. Varn ships loomed in the distance, their sleek hulls glowing faintly against the black void. Tom's battered flotilla floated nearby, a patchwork of dents and defiance. Inside his ship, the air buzzed with exhaustion and hope. Lyra stood among the humans, her silver scales reflecting the dim light of their flickering consoles. She clutched the glowing orb, its emerald pulse stronger now, as if it sensed the moment. "We need to know what this means," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos behind her. Tom nodded, wiping grime from his face. "Let's crack it open, figuratively, I hope." Mina rigged a scanner from spare parts, linking it to the orb. Eli jury-rigged a power boost, muttering about alien tech being too fancy. The device hummed, projecting symbols that danced in the air. Lyra's 3 eyes widened as the full message unfolded, beyond the simple warning they'd first seen. It wasn't just fear the humans, it was a story, etched by a race long gone. The translation flowed, "We, the Caliph, watched the galaxy burn. A shadow came, devouring stars, unstoppable. We fell, as did all before us. Then came the humans, small, fragile, unknowing. They fought where we surrendered. With scraps and will, they turned the shadow back. We feared them not for their strength, but for what they could become. Heed this, they are the spark that defies the dark." Silence gripped the cabin. Tom leaned back, whistling low. "So, we're the good guys?" Lyra's voice trembled. "More than that. You saved everything, millions of years ago." The Calitha's words painted a picture: humans, primitive even then, facing a cosmic threat no advanced race could stop. They'd won not with weapons, but with ingenuity, tricking the enemy, enduring the impossible. The Varn Council had feared a myth, but it was a tribute. On the Varn flagship, the commander replayed Lyra's broadcast of the orb's truth. The quiet elder stood, his presence commanding. "We attacked our saviors," he said, voice cutting through the murmurs. The commander bristled. "They're chaotic, dangerous." But doubt crept in. The fleet held position, watching Tom's crew patch their ships with the same mad flair the Caliph described. Lyra hailed them, Tom at her side. "This is who we are," she said. "Let's build, not destroy." Tom added, "We're better at fixing than fighting, mostly." The council wavered, then relented. A shuttle launched, carrying emissaries, not weapons. They met Tom's crew on neutral ground, a drifting station. The Varn offered peace, humbled by the past. Tom shook their claws, grinning. "Deal. But we're keeping the tape handy." Lyra laughed, a rare, bright sound. The orb dimmed, its task done, as if passing the torch. Across the galaxy, other artifacts flickered out, their warnings now understood. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Ships rose daily, not for war, but for wonder. Tom's workshop became a hub, churning out vessels that defied logic, each a testament to human spirit. Mina designed a new drive, faster than the Varn's, built from scraps and dreams. Eli taught kids to tinker, spreading the spark. Leaders spoke of alliances, but the people looked beyond, to stars uncharted, mysteries unsolved. Curiosity burned brighter than fear. The Varn capital buzzed with change. Lyra faced the council, no longer a traitor. "They're not a threat, they're a chance," she said. Kale backed her, scales gleaming with pride. The quiet elder nodded. "We feared the unknown. Now we embrace it." Trade began, tech for ideas, order for chaos. The Varn marveled at human quirks, music blared from ships, snacks fueled late-night builds. Tom visited, showing them how to improvise. "Rules are great," he said, "until they're not." Years passed, and the galaxy shifted. Humans stood as equals, their ships a wild mix of Varn precision and earthborn madness. The shadow the Caliph feared never returned, but its echo lingered, a reminder of what humans could do. Lyra often gazed at the stars, the orb now a relic in her lab. She'd once sought answers, now she sought questions, inspired by the humans she'd feared. Tom, older now, stood on a new colony, Earth's first beyond its sun. Kids ran past, chasing dreams he'd sparked. Mina joined him, her eyes on the horizon. "What's next?" she asked. He grinned, the same grin that baffled the Varn. "Everything." The galaxy stretched before them, vast and alive. Dead civilizations had warned of humans, but they'd missed the point. Fear wasn't the lesson, hope was. Humanity's story wasn't ending, it was just beginning, a flame no darkness could snuff out. The stars watched, as they always had, and this time, they twinkled a little brighter.